With the Panasonic UB820, you should stop letting your TV meddle with your sound. Now, if you have the UB820, you should be using both HDMI outputs on the back. I'll explain why. All right, so we are going to look at the back of the UB820. All right, can you see it back there? Look at that. I got two HDMIs. Right there, you see that? You have an audio out and a video out. Now, this is for people that are using a soundbar or have a receiver to surround sound. You have the first HDMI output going directly to the TV. Then you have the second one going to whatever sound system you have. So for me, that's this Sony HT-ST5000, which simulates Dolby Atmos and DTS. So on the back of the soundbar, I have one of the inputs as an HDMI straight from the player to the soundbar. Then in the settings for the Panasonic UB820, I go to HDMI. Then right here, I go down to, so under HDMI video output mode, I leave that on auto. And then this is important, HDMI audio only. See that? So what this does is it sends the video to the TV and the audio to the soundbar. Now, the reason this is important is because some TVs cannot pass through Dolby Atmos or DTS-X. So what was happening is the display on my soundbar was just saying Dolby True HD or DTS HDMI. It was not saying Dolby Atmos or DTS-X, which means somewhere in the TV, the sound was getting bottlenecked and the upward firing speaker signal was not being sent through. So again, on the soundbar, it has a whole bunch of speakers that fire in different directions, and then you have these upward firing speakers that it's supposed to bounce out off the ceiling and sound like it's overhead. And now nothing beats actual speakers around you, I know that, but in this watching space, this is what we got. We're not going to run wires all over in the living room. So look at the display. When I push the display button, right here.
Just like any program that operates outside their directive can be. Do you understand?
So I know us movie people really like to see it saying Dolby Atmos or DTS-X on our sound equipment. And that's how to do it with the UB820. You got to divide it into two. So this is my Sony X950H going to the soundbar that can actually handle that signal. Now upstairs is a little bit different story. Okay, so upstairs is a little bit different story. So we have the Sony OLED with a 3.1 setup with the Sony CS speakers. Undo the child lock. But I have older receiver that cannot pass through Dolby Vision. So for the UB820 up here, I do the same thing. So I actually don't want the receiver passing through the entire signal. So I have one HDMI go to the TV, one HDMI go to the receiver, and just like downstairs where I used to be bottlenecking the sound through the TV, I actually want the receiver to receive just the core audio, the Dolby True HD and the DTS HDMI that's inside of the Dolby Atmos and DTS-X signal, which is actually really interesting because this is something I always wondered when you hear about the core audio signal inside of those, if it would sound good. And so right now, with my 3.1 setup, it used to be a 7.2 setup, but right now it's a 3.1 until we set up more stuff. But I really wanted to know if a Dolby Atmos or DTS-X could be crunched down into a 3.1 and sound great. And the answer is it absolutely does. But on the Panasonic UB820, you have to do it right, where you split it up with the two HDMI cables. Okay, so now just looking at the general settings, this will be the same on both players to both TVs. So you go to audio, and then dynamic range compression you want off, and then digital audio output. This is the most important part. It needs to be set to Bitstream. And then my particular setup, I have the audio delay of 50 milliseconds, but that'll probably vary by what you're watching and who you are. So my whole point is stop letting your TV meddle with your sound. Instead, just send the HDMI with the pure signal straight off the disc, unmeddled with, and then you will get the most pure sound and you will be able to tell a difference. All right, I hope that helped. The reason I thought about making this is because a lot of people I've talked to or chatted with seemed very confused when I told them about having two HDMI cables out of the back here, because most people think you just have one HDMI to the TV and then you e-arc it to your sound. And that's good if your TV can pass through the entire signal and not just send the core signal. So hopefully this clarifies to all those people that were confused about the two cables, why you'd want to do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.